Council's ordinary council meeting at 10:30. We'll reconvene today's ordinary council meeting at 10. Thank you.
And that's all for you now, Sam, isn't it?
The camera's on, the sound will be on.
Good, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Look, apologies for that interruption, but we'll reconvene our ordinary council meeting now, or recommence our ordinary council meeting now. So can I remind everyone to turn off their devices, or turn them on to silent, please. Do we have any apologies? Do we have any leaves of absence requests? Councillor Bilney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to request be granted leave of absence for the period from Thursday the 21st of August 2025 through to the Saturday the 6th of September 2025 inclusive.
Thanks, Councillor Bilney. Councillors, would someone like to move and second Councillor Bilney's request? Councillor Spanos is moving and Councillor Barty is seconding. Those in favour? Carried. That's 6-0. Thank you. Okay, I did acknowledgement to country at our previous meeting this morning, councillors. But I will ask everyone to be upstanding as we give our bereavement. We'll please observe a minute's silence as a mark of respect for the members of our community who have recently passed. We wish their family and friends peace and comfort during this challenging time. Thank you. Okay, councillors, that brings us to item 6, declarations of any interest by councillors or senior council officers. We'll go to Councillor Bilney first.
Yeah, through the chair. In accordance with section 150 EQ4A of the Local Government Act 2009, I have a prescribed conflict of interest in item 16.6, being T-TRC 2025-02 vacuum truck operators register of pre-qualified suppliers. Due to my relationship with Bronson Jusu, who is my stepson, He is the owner-operator of BJS Plumbing and Civil Contracting and is listed on the proposed register. I therefore intend to leave the meeting whilst the matter is discussed and voted upon.
Thanks, councillor Billy. Yes, and I'll,
Sorry.
yeah, councillor Spanos, would you like to go next?
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Through the chair, I'd also like to declare a conflict of interest in accordance with section 150 EM of the Local Government Act 2009 in relation to item 16.6 T-TRC 2025-02, the vacuum truck operators register of pre-qualified suppliers, as I have a close personal relationship with the operator of FNQ Cable Locators, who is listed on the proposed register of pre-qualified suppliers. So I will exclude myself for that part of the meeting.
Thanks, councillor Spanos. And I'd also like to inform the meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in accordance with section 150 EQ 4 of the Local Government Act 2009 in relation to item 12.1, community project request, Atherton Tennis Club, lighting to the tennis court 4. The declarable conflict of interest arises because my family and I have a membership at the Atherton Tennis Club, and because of that membership, I'll be leaving the meeting during the discussion and the vote on 12.1. Are there any other conflicts that councillors or officers need to declare? Okay, very good. That brings us to the confirmation of the ordinary meeting minutes of the 22nd of May. Can I have a mover and seconder that those minutes be accepted as an accurate record? Councillor Barty moving and Councillor Bilney. Those in favour? That's carried 7. Thank you. We'll also do confirmation of the minutes of the special meeting of 11th of June. Can we have a mover that those minutes be accepted as a true and accurate record? Councillor Spanos and Councillor Hayden. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Okay, now we will go to business arising from the ordinary meeting of the 22nd of May. Did we have any business arising that you had, Jackie? No. So does any business arising from the floor from that 22nd of May meeting? No, no business arising. We do have no deputations this morning. Councillors, I will present my mayoral minute, and I won't read it out, councillors, because it has been sent out. So I'll just talk to the high points. But yes, the deputy mayor, the CEO, and our senior advisor, emergency management, and myself attended the QDMG conference in Brisbane in May. It's in our capacities as part of our LVMG responsibilities that we thought it was valuable to get that upskilling, and I certainly hadn't been to one before. But yeah, there was certainly some key takeouts from it. One of the interesting issues that came out of Gold Coast Regional Council was they had trouble getting volunteers for, there's so many disasters and weather events these days. Volunteers are completely, they're like hen's teeth. It's really hard to get them. So one of the things they've done is they've strategically gone to some of the church groups on the Gold Coast and just sort of done a bit of a campaign, and they've actually picked up quite a few volunteers, and not only have they picked up some volunteers, but they're younger than the usual cohort of volunteers who are, retired people, who are generally older, and So they picked up people through the church groups. So that was interesting. And the other thing that Gold Coast said that they did was that they treat getting volunteers as a marketing exercise. You know, if we're seeking volunteers and we want, you know, these sorts of individuals with these sorts of skills or capabilities, how do we get them? What do we need to offer them in terms of training and upskilling? So they look at it as a strategic marketing exercise. It's not just putting out a Facebook post and saying volunteers wanted. It's a bit more sophisticated than that. So that was interesting. Science tells us that environment and weather events will be bigger and more frequent. So basically for local government, that means, you know, disaster management even becomes a more core part of what local government has to do moving forward, because the events will get bigger and they'll be more frequent, and, you know, you'll go from, it was like when we went from the bushfires to Jasper, you know, in our experience fairly recently. The importance of partnerships with other key agencies is critical in disaster management. And the importance of governance, you know, I think you mightn't think, or we mightn't think governance is that important, but it really is important, especially if it's a really catastrophic disaster and people are injured, or, you know, lives are lost, or if volunteers are involved in some sort of an event themselves when they're working as part of the disaster management response. You know, the governance and the people in those key leadership decisions, it's really critical. But yeah, look, it was a good conference, and I think we all got a lot out of it. The second one, I just wanted to commend Malanda High School in Councillor Bilney's absence, who was unwell a couple of weeks ago. I went to the Malanda State School, to the Business Expo, which I've been for the last few years. They're amazing what those students deliver in terms of doing up a business plan, and you know, at such a young age, year 10 to year 12, they're really quite extraordinary, and it's a credit to the Malanda School that they've got that business program. And finally, I just wanted to give everyone a bit of an update on the citizenship ceremonies that we have. In the last 12 months, we've actually had 75 new citizens come through, which, you know, if you just go back a couple of years, it was like, you know, around the 30 to 40 a year. And now the demand, or the, you know, the influx of people coming to Australia and becoming citizens is really ramped up. So it's an amazing thing. And just a few stats there. The most common country that they come from is New Zealand. This is just in the last 12 months. New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and then South Africa was third. But yeah, it's a great thing to do, and of all the jobs I do as mayor, that's the one that's probably the most enjoyable, because it's such a big day for those people to have actually taken on Australian citizenship. It's a big decision. But that's about it. I'd just like to move my mayoral minute, and seeking that, I don't need a seconder, so those in favour? Carried. Thank you, that's 7. Thank you. What I'd like to suggest we do today is, is that you happy with that? So I'd like to move a procedural motion. We do have some people here from the Tolga Historical Society, the Tolga Museum, and their item is quite a way down the agenda. So could I move a procedural motion that we bring item, what item was it, Jackie?
12.2.
That we bring 12.2, Community Project Request, Tolga Museum Military Display Building and Extension and Services Upgrade, that we actually bring that forward, and we'll bring that to slot in just after the Chief Executive Officer's report. So we'll do the CEO report first, and then we'll go straight to the Tolga Museum so that that can be dealt with early in the meeting. So I'll move that. Do I need a seconder for that? Yeah, so Councillor Spanos seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Very good. Okay, and that brings us to item 11.2, Chief Executive Officer report.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and through the Chair. I'm very pleased to present the Chief Executive Officer report for the June 2025 Ordinary Meeting of Council. And this report serves as an opportunity for me to provide a monthly update to our community on some of the initiatives underway. With respect to the inaugural TRC Business and Tourism Forum, we are delighted to share the news of the first forum. It will be held from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on the 16th of July here at the TRC Disaster Coordination Centre, here in Atherton, I should say. It'll be an opportunity for those involved or interested in business and tourism to hear from me about council initiatives, and also for me to hear from our business and tourism sector and provide their views regarding some initiatives or support they would be seeking from council. Supporting local business and tourism are core businesses for local governments, and there will be a renewed focus here at TRC on those core activities to ensure we've got a vibrant and prosperous local economy and support an environment where our local businesses can thrive. And I would like to thank our partners in this initiative: Tourism Atherton Tablelands, the Lander Chamber of Commerce, Atherton Tableland Chamber of Commerce, Ravenshoe Chamber of Commerce, Beaverton Business and Tourism Association and Young Borough Association. Moving to the Atherton Recycle Market. A report is due to come before Council this month regarding the Atherton Recycle Market. There have been a number of discussions with various parties. However, these discussions are informal at this stage and are for the purposes of gauging interest and seeking information. Council's also liaising with external agencies about licensing arrangements for various options and reviewing the planning scheme for allowable uses. A report will now be provided to the August Ordinary Council meeting. With respect to various project updates, if you feel free to link on our Council's website there, and I've provided just a short list of some of the projects that we're doing in this officer's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a mover of the CEO's report? Councillor Billy moving, Councillor Spanos seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay, that now brings us to the item that we brought forward. So we'll move now to 12.2, Community Project Request, Tolga Museum, Military Display, Building Extension and Services Upgrade. Can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillors? We have a mover of the officer's recommendation? No. Do we have any other? Councillor Kaji?
I have an alternative motion to the officer's recommendation, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the alternative motion. It's on the screen.
Yep.
I can read it if you like.
Yes, please. That'll be good, Councillor Kaji.
We might just read it out.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can read it. Read it, Councillor Kaji. Thank you. Yep.
The council approved Tolga Historical Society's community project request to planned extension upgrade for the Tolga Museum's military display building on Tablelands Regional Council leased property located at 86 Kennedy Highway, Tolga, also known as Lot 14 on SP 113931. The reasons I'm moving this alternate recommendation is I fully support the Tolga Historical Society and the tireless work the volunteers undertake to provide a magnificent showcase for locals and tourists alike. The minor extension proposed for their building highlights the continued success of the community service highly regarded by all. Organisations like this who run and look after a valued not-for-profit community service at no cost to council should be supported by council.
Thanks, Councillor Kaji. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Lang is seconding. Councillors? Yes. Would you like to speak further, Councillor Kaji?
No, I'll just hold my reply if necessary.
Okay. Councillors? Anyone else like to talk to this one? No? Okay, we have a mover and seconder of the motion that's on the screen. Those in favour? Carried. That was 7, Jeff. All right, councillors, that brings us back to our agenda proper, and that brings us to 11.3. So 11.3, Mamu Health Service Limited, development permit, material change of use, healthcare services, lot 3, RP 846982-67 Garnet Street, Mount Garnet, MCU 24/0022. Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty's moving, Councillor Hayden seconding. Councillor Barty. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, would you like, we asked the officer.
Yeah, I'd love for the officers to introduce the.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Barty.
I do have some questions.
My fault.
No,
My
no,
fault.
that's all good.
I should have gone here first,
Yeah.
but we've got a mover and seconder, so that's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, if I may. Agenda item 11.3 is a brief overview. The applicant seeks approval for a material change of use, being for healthcare services within the low density residential zone for Mount Garnet. The proposal, we will repurpose an existing dwelling house with 2 consultation rooms, office space, storeroom, reception and washing facilities, indoor and outdoor waiting rooms. Proposed operating times 8:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. for up to a maximum of 3 days per fortnight. Here it is noted that the existing 40-year-old effluent system is in good working order and adequate to support the current scale of the proposal, being with limited operating days. No submissions were received during the public notification process. The assessing officer has outlined that the proposal is substantially consistent with the relevant codes and strategic outcomes of the planning scheme and is therefore recommended for approval, subject to conditions.
Thanks, Nathan. Any questions for Nathan or Dan on this one?
Just
Councillor
my
Barty?
only question was just around the 3D limit per fortnight. That was just purely based around the septic system and the water capabilities. That's correct. So if they do choose to upgrade it at some stage.
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, I understand that's correct. So that's what was proposed, having regard to the limitations of the effluent disposal system.
Yeah.
So if they wish to change that condition down the track, they can come back to us, and if they're accepting of upgrading the system, we'll revisit that condition.
Yeah.
Any more questions for officers, councillors? No, well, we do have a mover and seconder on this one already. If no councillors have any questions or wish to add, Councillor Hayden.
That's not a question.
Oh, that's okay. No, you can talk.
Okay. So I just want to say that good health is the foundation of a strong community, and no one should have to travel long distances or face long wait times to receive the care they need. Having a health care close to home improves lives, it saves lives, and it strengthens the fabric of our community of Mount Garnet. I fully support Mamu Health Service in the establishment of the healthcare service in Mount Garnet.
Thanks, Councillor Hayden. Anyone else wish to talk to this one? Those in favour of the officer's recommendation? That's carried. That's 7. Okay, so that brings us to 11.4, Triprops Proprietary Limited, request for negotiated decision notice reconfiguring a lot, 1 into 38 lots, lot 100 SP 349408, Manthey Road, Atherton, RAL 24/0030. I might go straight to the officers first. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair, if I may, it's a brief overview with some additional volume. This agenda item relates to a development permit for reconfiguration of a lot in Tolga, Atherton for 38 industrial lots, which was approved by this council at the March ordinary meeting earlier this year. The applicant has requested that council consider a negotiated decision notice by removing conditions 4.4, B, C and E from this approval. The officer's assessment concludes that the conditions are not considered to be in conflict with the earlier prelim approval, noting that given the passing of time, being 13 years since this preliminary approval was granted, and the recent approvals over adjacent properties, council officers are now able to give due consideration to present day factors, particularly relating to local road safety and efficiency, given that they now have a much clearer understanding of the form the local road network will take now and in the future. So in this light, the assessing officer notes that council, as the assessment manager, the authorising entity, may take into account potential safety risks based on advancements in local road network planning arising from the adjacent proposals. So therefore, the assessing officer also highlights that a prelim approval does not limit council's power to impose conditions on subsequent subdivision approvals, particularly where those conditions are in the interest of local road safety and efficiency. So on that basis, the assessing officer has recommended that the request for a negotiated decision notice be declined in this instance. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? Councillor Cardew?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I don't support the recommendation here. I support the application, but my questions are going to be, back in the day when the preliminary approval was given, I believe it was always the intent that the intersection on Isabel Street West was always going to be that intersection connecting to Manthey Road in some form, and that was the intent, I believe, at that time. Since then, yes, there has been things come to light with regards to what we're doing with Manthey Road. Oh, Mr. Mayor, maybe I should, this is not directly, maybe I should be allowing them debating this in the general business, in the...
Yeah, well, this is really an opportunity for questions now.
Oh, well, I'll keep going then.
Yeah.
In my mind, that was the intent of the application back then. The subdivision plans indicate that intersection is established. So, having listened to what you just said about things have changed, which they have, the safety of road users, which is also always a concern, no matter what road it is. But it is the intent now that Manthey Road will be closed when the bypass road is put in through the neighbouring subdivision. So Manthey Road is going to be closed, so the volume of traffic on that road is going to cease. Now, I note that there was in one of the conditions, I read somewhere, I can't put my fingers on it, but I read somewhere, you'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong, that if the developer wanted to access from Isabella Street West intersection back to Isabella Street East or out on Manthey Road, then they had to upgrade that road to a industrial standard at the cost of the developer. Now, I don't know why we would ask for that when, in my view, that road, the section of road between Isabella Street West and Isabella Street East could easily become a service road or a service lane, accessing for access for those properties that abut it. And my question here is, why would we want to prohibit or restrict the developer from using that section of road or putting an impost on them to upgrade that section of road to an industrial standard, when in reality, all it will be is a service access for those lots abutting those roads. That road.
Through the chair, with respect to Councillor Cardew, that's not what has been, the representations are proposing that Manthey Road be turned into a service lane, so that I can't actually answer that question because that's not what's being proposed and it's not what's being assessed. So the applicant is entitled, pending the outcome of this decision today, to come back and request a further change of approval. And if you would like to us to consider the service road proposal, I would be more than happy to do that, but it's not a question that I can answer on the fly.
Thanks, Jen, and I appreciate that. But it relates to the intersection, and that's what this application is referring to today. So by knocking this back today or refusing it today,
Is there another question?
Will it further impede their application?
Through the chair, so could I just ask, when you say, will it further impede their application, can you just clarify what you mean?
Yeah, so if we decline this today, what impact will that have on them if they do decide to come back and want to create a service lane as opposed to an industrial side lane on Manthey Road?
I'll just go to the CEO to clarify.
So under the Planning Act, that any future whatever they may or may not propose is not a consideration for assessment, or you as assessing managers, as the assessment managers under the Act.
So again, I'll ask, the intent in my mind was to always have this intersection. Why would we want to take that away from them?
Through the chair, if I'm allowed to just read out a short statement, so, and it covers the issues that Councillor Cardew is talking to now. So the applicant's representations largely centre on the argument that the preliminary approval anticipated that any traffic generated by the development would be allowed to flow freely onto Manthey Road via the Isabella Street West and Isabella Street East intersections. And further, the Isabella Street West intersection would be constructed in future without any corresponding requirement to upgrade Manthey Road. These assertions seem to be entirely based on an interpretation of Condition 6E of the preliminary approval, which fails to have regard to other contextual matters. Most relevantly, the vehicle access arrangements originally proposed by the preliminary approval application and the access conditions imposed on the preliminary approval by the Department of Main Roads. Initially, the preliminary approval application proposed that all vehicle access between the development and the Kennedy Highway would be via the Isabella Streets East and West, Albrecht Street and Beantree Road. Prior to the preliminary approval application being decided, the applicant requested that Main Roads amend their conditions to permit a second access route to Beantree Road via the section of Manthey Road to the east of the rail corridor. As a consequence of the amended Main Roads conditions, Council imposed a condition on the preliminary approval requiring the Isabella Street East intersection onto Manthey Road to be fully constructed to an industrial standard. Notably, a similar condition was not applied to Isabella Street West, only conditions requiring the dedication of the road reserve and construction of a road stub to northern boundary of Manthey Road. The officer's report for the preliminary approval suggests that this was done so as not to limit the potential for future road connections with the land to the south of Manthey Road once the local network planning was further progressed. Nonetheless, Main Roads Condition 2E of the preliminary approval clearly states that only the section of Manthey Road to the east of the rail corridor is permitted to be used by vehicles accessing the Kennedy Highway via Beantree Road. Given that vehicles would have to utilise the section of Manthey Road to the west of the rail corridor to access the proposed Isabella Street West intersection, this supports the officer's conclusion that Condition 6E of the preliminary approval does not imply that the Isabella Street West intersection was to be constructed in conjunction with the Tri-Props development. Main Roads recently departed from their earlier position regarding the permitted access routes during the assessment of the reconfiguration of lot applications, such that they now support vehicles from the development accessing the western section of Manthey Road, albeit that Manthey Road, that the Manthey Road Kennedy Highway intersection must be converted to a left-in, left-out arrangement upon endorsement of the fourth lot. This is where the circumstances pertaining to the reconfiguration of a lot assessment fundamentally diverge from those that were relevant to the preliminary approval when the preliminary approval was decided in 2012. This shift is such that it is now an entirely reasonable expectation that the developer would upgrade Manthey Road to an appropriate standard in light of the likely impacts the development poses on the safety and efficiency of the local road network. The engineering report that accompanied the preliminary approval application suggests that at peak times, the post-development traffic impact on the external road network would be as much as 1,270 vehicle trips per hour. Therefore, if the applicant's representations are supported, a 50% traffic split between Manthey and Beantree roads equates to 635 vehicle movements per hour at peak times. This is 635 vehicle movements on a 3.6 metre wide rural standard road that cannot accommodate the passing movements of heavy vehicles without the need for motorists to utilise the unsealed verge. The safety risks would be further compounded by the addition of up to 9 vehicle crossovers. Some, if not all, are likely to require the installation of culverts and head walls in a road environment where vehicles need to use the verge for passing manoeuvres. To that end, the situation proposed by the applicants is assessed as being fundamentally unsafe.
Thanks, Dan. Are there any more questions for Dan?
Yeah, Dan, I didn't fully understand the reading of that, and I only got, is that the one you sent through last night? No, it's not. Anyway, that's all going to change. Wouldn't that have changed now that we know that Manthey Road is going to be closed?
Through the chair, we don't know for certain that Manthey Road is going to be closed because it's going to be closed as a condition on the Florian-Sig development. If Florian-Sig doesn't proceed with his development, it doesn't get closed. So we can't condition a development on the assumption that another developer on a different site is going to proceed with their application.
I'll go to the CEO, then Councillor Spouse.
I'm just mindful of councillors' obligations as assessment manager under the Planning Act, so it's not about hypotheticals and who might do what and where. Your role is to assess the application based on the materials provided. Council officers have expressly stated there are significant safety issues, but I think working through hypotheticals of who might develop what is not a situation that is allowed for you and your roles as assessment managers.
We'll go to Councillor Spanos, then Councillor Kaji.
Through the chair, I was just going to bring up the fact that if we're going to talk about Florian-Sigs, I've got a declarable interest there. So if we're going to go down that route, I really need to.
Thanks, Councillor Spanos. Councillor Kaji.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. The intent of this council is to have.
This needs to be a question.
Okay, I'll wait till the discussion.
Councillor Barty.
I don't know if mine's a question either, but I feel like there's quite a level of complexity with this one, and I think we should have probably had an information session on it so that we could have had all these questions out in the open. Is that something that it's too late to do?
So you actually approved this in.
We did, yeah, but this one, it's sort of, now that it's come back, there's a lot more there.
So, through the chair, so for an applicant, they can request a negotiated decision notice.
I understand that, but I feel like there's significant things to talk about. I mean, it's fine, but I think in future, if it is one like this, can we please have a follow-up information session?
I'm happy, sorry, through the chair. So we have a partner in planning law coming to do a session with councillors in only 10 days, I think, 2 weeks. And they will take you through what you can and can't do as assessment managers, because you're governed under the Planning Act. And then it might be that you set some things that will automatically come back to council. For example, negotiated decision notices or impact accessible, those kinds of things. So we're happy to have a look at that as part of that workshop, which is on the 9th of the 10th, I think. Sorry.
That doesn't address this issue now.
Through the chair.
Nathan, thank you.
Yeah, I would, through the chair, I would offer that we, council turn their mind back to my earlier points that the applicant has made some representations about potential inconsistencies between the reasonable and relevant conditions placed on the development permit that was approved in March. And clearly the council officers have noted in their report that this council, as the assessment manager, can take into account present day matters. So the prelim approval doesn't preclude yourselves as the assessment manager from reasonable and relevant conditions as applied in March. So essentially the officer's report supports what was conditioned in March and follows that through. So from council view, there is no change, there is simply a rebuttal of the applicant's position that is inconsistent with the prelim approval, which the officers have reported that's in this case. So it's going to a higher level, casting our minds to a higher level discussion about reasonable and relevant, and the fact that a prelim approval doesn't preclude present day assessment, especially in our case, if it includes local road safety, efficiency, risk, that has to be in the assessment manager's considerations. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, I think we need to be fairly careful here. I mean, the council officers, you know, their intelligence to us is that it's basically in council / community's interest that this be declined, and I think on matters like this, which are highly technical, it's wise for us to take our expert advice. At the end of the day, they're our experts providing us with advice. I understand the developer's point of view. Developers often have a different point of view because, you know, they're trying to make their developments as viable as possible. But at the end of the day, our default position really should be in the interest of community first. Councillor Cardew.
Mr Mayor, are we debating this now, or that wasn't the question?
Well,
Are we debating it now, or are we going to go into?
You're quite right, Councillor Cardew. So if there are any more questions for the officers? No, okay. So do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty's moving the officer's recommendation. Councillor Bilney's seconding the officer's recommendation. Councillor Barty.
No, I don't have any further questions or statements. Councillor Cardew.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Like I said earlier, I won't be supporting this. If it doesn't get up, I'll be putting up a alternative recommendation, but for the reasons I tried to state before, the original intent is always to have the Isabella Street West intersection constructed as part of the development. The issues back 11 years ago, yes, the officers are right. You know, it wasn't clear on the outcomes of what we're going to do with Manthey Road, whether it's going to get closed off or etc. The figures you quoted about traffic numbers, well, they may very well have been correct if Manthey Road remains open and connected to the Candy Highway. But when that road is closed, and it will be closed, because it is the intent of this council, and we have been pushing for the closure of Manthey Road in the last term when I was on council and this term, and that is one of our #1 priorities of this council. So why wouldn't it go ahead? We basically have support from Main Roads saying that when the road goes through the adjoining subdivision, which it will, the approval's been done, construction is underway, it will be closed. So why would we want to inhibit the construction of the intersection of Isabella Street West? I don't understand it. When all those traffic numbers will be reduced to basically servicing those lots that abut Manthey Road. So that it significantly reduces those risks that's been talked about. Anyway, so for those reasons, I won't be supporting this.
Councillors, anyone else like to talk to this? Yeah, I've got a mover and seconder for the officer's recommendation. Those in favour? That's carried. 5-2. Councillor Spanos and Councillor Cardew. That brings us to item 11.5. Watto's Earth Moving and Machinery Hire Proprietary Limited. Variation request to vary the effect of the TRC Planning Scheme 2016 and Development Plan for reconfiguring a lot 2 into 17 lots, lot RP 702522 and lot 91 SP 455649 and 18 Daly Street, Tolga, RAL 24/0033. We'll go over to our officers, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, through the chair, if I may, as a brief overview, the applicant seeks approval for the reconfiguration of 2 existing lots into 17 residential lots within the emerging community zone in Tolga, Atherton. A variation request was also included in the application, which was proposed to accommodate an alternative stormwater management solution to support the subdivision. 2 properly made submissions were received during the public notification process. So here it is noted that a typographical error was picked up in the executive summary and on page 153 of the report, which stated only that 1 submission was properly made. So the 2 submissions received are considered properly made under the Planning Act, as they meet all statutory requirements of being properly made, assessed by the assessing officer. Therefore, the assessing officer has outlined that the proposal is substantially consistent with the relevant codes and strategic outcomes of the planning scheme and is therefore recommended for approval, subject to conditions. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the officers? Councillor Barney?
Yeah, my question's in relation to the 14E. For me, it's on page 159. I'm not sure it is for you. It's about the native animal requirement. I don't understand how that becomes a requirement to get permission from council to remove a dangerous animal from the property. You're right, I'll wait till you get there.
Mr. Chair, so Councillor Vardy, so you don't understand, can you sort of clarify?
Yeah, clarify what I mean. Yeah, sure. Like, what happens without this condition if there's a dangerous, if we were talking about dingoes the other day or something like that, like what's...
They're not required to get our permission to remove it if that condition doesn't exist.
Yeah. Do we normally have to, do places usually have to get our permission to remove these?
I suppose it's there to ensure that in the act of removing that dangerous animal, you're not damaging the covenant for its intended purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, Nathan, thank you.
Through the chair, if I may, I'll just add for councillor's clarity. As part of that, there is what the council officers would suggest is a catch-all at the bottom of that condition that says, albeit subject to any other approvals which might be required by law, having been obtained. So that obviously refers to high order, potentially national or state law.
Yeah.
So of course, they may not need council's permission, but of course they need to consult with relevant other bodies. So including potential critical environmental laws at federal level.
Yeah.
So it doesn't preclude them and release them from all requirements to do the checks and balances required.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions for our planners? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Cardew's moving. Do we have a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Hayne seconding. Councillor Cardew.
No, I'm happy with the officer's recommendation.
Anyone else like to talk for or against? No? Okay, those in favour of the officer's recommendation? That's carried, that's 7. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to 11.6. is corporate risk register review. So would you like to talk to that one a bit? Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. Good morning, councillors. I'm happy to present this report to you. TRC officers have reviewed the current corporate risk register, which was adopted by the previous councillor group, and proposed the adoption of an updated document that reflects the new councillor group's strategic objectives for TRC and their approach towards risk management. In summary, the key changes between the two documents are that the previous 23 line items of identified risks have been reduced down to 14 identified risk line items. This is in line with current best practice, which seeks to ensure that key corporate risks are identified at a higher level. Greater details or granularity will be captured in operational risk registers for the various different sections of council. The risks identified have also been aligned with TRC's new corporate plan and its key strategic themes. The format of the risk register is also somewhat streamlined with a reduced number of columns. It is proposed that the adopted risk register will be inputted into a new online application that will house TRC's risk registers rather than being managed by means of an Excel spreadsheet, as has previously been the case. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvette. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Cardew.
Yeah, thanks. Yvette, can you explain how this risk document is used in day-to-day running of council?
Absolutely. So under the local government legislation, council is actually required to document its identified risks and how it manages it. So you'll notice in the proposed corporate risk register that is one of the attachments to the report, it indicates there's a column there for mitigation strategies or treatment proposals, and council officers in any action that they take will obviously have to assess the risk associated with a project or a decision that's being made, and they will be required to mitigate or treat the identified risks in accordance with the treatment plan set out in that corporate risk register.
Any more questions, councillors? Do we have a mover for 11.6? Councillor Billy's moving. Seconder, Councillor Spanos. No,
Nothing from me.
those in favour? Carried. That's 6-1. Councillor Cardew. Um, 11.7, views request lot 3825 on SP 273689 Gunawarra Road, locality of Minamuka. You're talking to that one too, Yvette. Thank you. We'll go straight to you, please.
Thank you, councillors, for allowing me to present this report to you. TRC has received a request for views from the Department of Natural Resources and Mines, Manufacturing and Regional and Rural Development in relation to a pastoral rolling term lease over lot 3825 on SP 273689, which has been granted by the state to a third party. This land is known as Wambinu Station, which is located in the locality of Minamuka and is accessible from Gunawarra Road, Wairuna Road and also the Kashmir-Kirrama Road. The current lessee has requested the conversion of the current lease to freehold land. This report sets out the views of TRC officers in relation to the future tenure arrangements over the land and recommends that because TRC has no interest in this land, that council advise the department that it does not have any objections to the conversion of the lease to freehold land. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any more questions, councillors? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Hayden and Councillor Cardew, moving. Councillor Hayden, would you like to talk to that?
No, that's fine.
Yep. Anyone like to talk? This one? Okay, moving seconder we've got. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. That's 7. $11.8, again, views request conversion of lot 5 on SP 206171 Gunawarra Road, locality of Minamuka. We'll go back to you. Thanks, Yvette.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm also happy to present this report. TRC has received this view's request from the department in relation to the lease in perpetuity over this land, which has been granted by the state to a third party. The land is known as Gunnawara Station. It's located in the locality of Vinamulka and is accessible from Gunnawara Road. The current lessee has requested the conversion of the current lease to freehold land, and this report sets out TRC's office's views in relation to the future tenure arrangements over the land, and recommends that as part of any conversion process that council might be agreeable to, that the road off alignment issue involving Gunnawara Road be resolved, and also that TRC's ongoing access to the gravel pit located on the land also be secured. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? Does this mean if these conversions go through, does it make much difference to our rates if they've gone to from a leasehold to a
I'm
freehold?
terribly sorry, I'm not in a position to be able to comment on that.
Yeah.
Possibly the
I
manager.
mean, it doesn't really doesn't matter, but I just thought.
Sorry, if I may, through the chair. So depending on it, generally things like this trigger a new land valuation of the parcel of land, which then can flow to our general rate component.
Yeah.
But we do generally see change in these valuations.
Yeah, thank you. And it's not really anything relevant, so I probably shouldn't have asked it. Very good. Any more questions on this one, councillors? Councillor
So
Spence?
if it becomes, you're through the chair, if it becomes freehold land, can we expect some extra funding from the state government for the road? Just a remark, sorry.
Can we answer that? Probably not.
No, probably not. Wouldn't be nice.
Yeah, my fault for bringing up that mining question. But look, do we have a mover? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation if there's no more questions? Councillor Hayden, moving. Seconder. Councillor Bilney. Councillor Hayden, would you like to talk?
No.
Yeah. Those in favour?
I've got a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, look, I support the application. I just want to reiterate that we need to completely retain our access and use rights to that gravel pit located in that corridor. So I just want to make that quite clear now at this meeting that we retain, don't lose anything by doing this.
Through the chair, that's the officer's recommendation captured in the report. Yes.
Thank you. Councillors, final call. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. 11.9, trustee sublease over lot 14 on CP A31949. Sorry?
What we're deferring this one?
Oh, is this one being deferred?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, it's not in my notes. Can we, do we just defer it indefinitely? Till next month? Okay. Could we have a mover that we defer item 11.9 to the July OCM? Councillor Spanos is moving. Councillor Cardew is seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. No, it's good. No.
Thanks, Councillor Barty. Thanks, Councillor Barty. Yeah, it wasn't on my run sheet either. That brings us to 11.10, 2025 LGAQ conference renewal of assets. Yes, so I'll go to the CEO for that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the Local Government Association of Queensland has an annual conference each year, and in advance of that annual conference, they call on councils to put forward motions for consideration for full support of LGAQ Queensland. So much like other councils, we manage a vast asset portfolio, many of which are near the end of life. This resolution relates to a councillor's request in relation to a motion to put up, and it's really just to move that focus from funding for new to funding for renewal for end-of-life local government assets. It doesn't preclude council laws from putting more forward. However, this one was one of the first ones that we've brought to an OCN. We didn't take any questions.
Questions, councillors? Okay, can we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Cardew, Councillor Barty. Councillor Cardew, you wish to talk?
No, it's all good, yes.
Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. .11, Capital Projects Report, May 2025.
Through the Chair, I'm happy to talk to this,
Thanks,
Mayor. So it's my pleasure to present the May Capital Progress Report as developed by the Executive Manager of Project Management, who unfortunately could not be available for this meeting today. The report reports on the status and completion progress of the capital projects that are part of the 24-25 capital budget, and I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions for Mike? Thanks.
My question was about, it's on page 285 for me, it's the WWT Sue Retic upgrade. Last month it was on 46% and now it's on 40, and I was just wondering what happened there.
Yeah, I would like to defer that one to Charles. He
Yep.
might have sourced an answer for that one.
Through the Chair, there's a requirement for a derogation to allow for the additional flows from Newland. And particularly Newland, so
Yep.
that's made the whole project look a little
Wonky.
behind, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, thanks, Charles.
Any more questions on this one? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty and Councillor Lang. Councillor Barty, you wish to talk? No. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. That's 7. Oh, so that brings us to 12.1. I'll be leaving this one and let the Deputy Mayor chair this.
Thanks, Mayor.
Is that what you want, suit?
Eh?
Is that what you want, suit?
I look the part. Okay, so we're going to move on to item 12.1, which is the community project request for the Atherton Tennis Club, lighting to the tennis court 4 on the base CRM/25/03912. I'll invite Manager Strategic Assets Shane, if you can just give us a bit of a background, please.
Yep, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through the Chair, Councillors, on the 4th of March 2025, we received a community project request from the Atherton Tennis Club proposing the installation of 4 new LED lights on existing poles located in their 4th court of the licensed premises in Atherton. The project is estimated to cost $12,232, and the Atherton Tennis Club will fund the project utilizing their own club funds. No upfront financial contribution is being requested from TRC. The community project request aligns with the community facilities strategy by improving utilization, bringing the community together, and aligning the rate of provision. Should the CPR be approved upon asset acquisition, it is estimated that TRC's depreciation rate will increase $1 per year. The report is presented to Council for consideration in line with the CPR policy, as the project holds a whole of life cost greater than $10,000 and is assessed as a level 1 low risk in accordance with the TRC project management framework. The officer's recommendation to Council is to approve the CPR. Deputy Mayor, may we open the floor to questions, please?
Thank you, Shane. Councillors, questions? Councillor Cardew?
Thanks. I support the application, but can you just please explain What's the difference between this community request and the one we just approved earlier, where this one's recommended for approval, and the other one was recommended for refusal? What's the difference in your assessment criteria or processes that allows one community group to have success and the other not?
Yep. Through the chair, so a few differences include single-purpose design buildings usually result in a low level of use by the community, so we're trying to create assets that the whole community can use. So the modification of the other building doesn't allow for a shared facility moving forward. Location, the strategy also sets out a rate of provision to aid in the community being able to access the assets. So it aligns what should be built where, because you have more people to be able to utilize it. Low fees and subsidies. By providing low fees, we're not recovering what is required to fund single-purpose assets across the Shire, which creates a further burden on our financial position. The building also is not owned by TRC, but leased by TRC, so requires TRC to formally apply to the state for permission to modify the building, which could result in TRC being liable for the improvements made at the end of our lease with DTMR.
Councillors, any other questions on this matter? No, if not, do we have a mover and a seconder of this? Councillor Cardew moving. Seconder Kylie, Councillor Lang, beg your pardon. Those in favour? Carried 6. I'll get them there. There, ready to go.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, that brings us to 12.3, TRC Community Building Asset Criticality Method Strategy. We'll go over to you. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair, councillors, in 2019, TRC adopted the Community Facilities Strategy, which recognizes that given the significance of community facilities within the region, TRC needs to set benchmarks to deliver and provision and identify sustainable service standards in the region. A component of strategic planning includes the financially sustainable management of TRC's community facilities. This requires assessment of opportunities to reduce upward pressure on rates and charges and find savings. In accordance with the international standards 55,000 series in asset management, asset criticality refers to the process of evaluating and ranking assets based on their importance. It's a way to understand which assets are crucial for business continuity and to prioritize resource allocation. This report sets out a recommended methodology to establish a process to evaluate each asset's importance to the organization and the community, with a focus on factors such as safety, regulatory impact, utilization, identified surpluses, and alignment to the strategy. Subsequent to councillor survey and information session, the report recommends council's endorsement to present the review criteria and weighting to TRC residents to seek their valued input into the process. The report sets out the standards the methodology is based on and is presented to council with a recommendation to commence community engagement as the next step in the process. This will ensure we understand the community's perspective in relation to the importance of the criteria, which aids us in making calculated and informed decisions on community building asset portfolio. Mayor, may we please open the floor to questions?
Thank you. Questions for Shane, please. Councillor Vardy.
My question was just about the community engagement. I see on page 325, you're talking about a community survey. Is that just going to be through the website, or are you getting up talking to people at actually high levels and things like that as well?
Through the website, through the chair, sorry. The intent is through the website. We can look to expand that.
So you won't be specifically targeting all users or anything like that? That's it. That was my question.
Any more questions? Okay, councillors, do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty's moving. Councillor Filney's seconding. Those in favour?
We're going to talk about it?
Sorry, Councillor Cudgett. Councillor Barty?
I didn't have any further questions.
Councillor Cudgett, sorry.
Yeah,
Apologies.
thank you. Look, I don't support this one little bit. As I mentioned in my budget speech about the need for this council to change the way we operate and get back to basics, this is certainly an area we should be concentrating on. For me, this is just another bureaucratic, convoluted exercise in doing things that we should come second nature to people who have good understanding of what our asset conditions are in, and go ahead and apply some common sense and get things done. This I can't believe that we're actually going down this path of creating more red tape to satisfy what I don't know. So I won't be supporting this one bit. Thank you.
Councillors? Anyone else like to talk to this one?
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Kev. I still feel we need to have that community consultation though, either way. I still feel we need to speak to community about these assets that we're looking to either maintain or not. So I feel it's a process that we need to be seen to be doing, and then we'll deal with it afterwards. I'll be supporting this.
CEO?
Oh, sorry, so part of that process and through the chair is that beginning of financial year we start looking at assets, but this provides just a clinical tool where you can form views about conditions of assets. And it will be based on obviously engineering reports and that kind of thing.
Councillor Billy?
Yeah, through the chair. The way I see it, it's using a tool that's equitable and consistent across the line. You can measure everything on the same basis, and we don't have that at the moment. So this has got to be better than what we're currently using. So yeah, if the first cast doesn't hit the mark, well then we modify it, but we've got to start somewhere.
Thanks, Councillor Billy. Councillors, anyone else like to talk to this one? Right, we have a mover and seconder. Those in favour? Carried, that's 6-1. Councillor Cardew. Okay, 12.4 off-leash dog park, Atherton. And that's Shane again. Thanks Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair, councillors, at the 27 March 2025 Tableland Zoojoo Council Ordinary Council meeting, Council resolved that the Chief Executive Officer investigate community views via engagement, cost of training as relevant to installation of a dividing fence in the Atherton Dog Park, investigate surrounding land as an alternative location whilst ensuring alignment with the Animal Management Act, and bring a report back to Council at the June Ordinary Council meeting. This report provides the details of the investigation, regulatory requirements of dog owners, and complies with the requirement of the officer bringing back a report to Council at this meeting. The report concludes that while it is acknowledged that some of the respondents to the engagement process have indicated that a dividing fence may assist in the reduction of conflicts between dogs, it will not assist in dog owners' compliance with the effective control requirement under the Animal Management Act. It does not guarantee that park users will comply with the use of the divided areas as is intended, and it does not provide local laws officers with the capacity and authority to monitor and enforce the correct use of the park. Therefore, it is recommended to not build the fence and to operate the current dog park in off-leash areas in the current state until local law review is complete in conjunction with the planning scheme review. And further recommendations are presented to Council. Mayor, may we open the floor to questions?
Thank you. Questions, councillors? No questions? Okay, councillors, do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Billings moving. We have a seconder. Councillor Lamb, seconded. Councillor Billings.
Yeah, through the chair, I'm a little bit conflicted about this one because I can understand the reason why a dividing fence has benefits. I'm really unsure if we have a dividing fence, how do we determine which dog goes over this side of the fence, which goes over this side of the fence? Is it based on weight? Is it based on the size of the dog, the age of the dog? I just don't know how we enforce compliance and those sort of things, given that we don't have the resources to do that anyway. So I'm just not sure how that works.
Councillor Barty.
Can I respond to? Yeah, I do have an alternative motion, and I hear what you're saying, and I've used a lot of dog parks. We've travelled a lot with our dogs overseas and in Australia, and signs work, and it's not, people know if they've got a small dog or a large dog. They know their dog's requirements, and they just work accordingly, and it works well. Like it just provides that other space.
Councillor Spanos.
Yeah, I agree with Maria. What I think it does is it gives us an option. Having a separated section, I think it gives us an option where people who feel that they might be able to put their dog in a different part of the park, they may be more encouraged to go to the dog park then as well. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Councillors? Councillor Kaji?
Yeah, thanks. This has been going on for close to 3 to 4 years now, about a dividing fence in a dog park. And still, we haven't resolved much, but I'm happy to hear that we have an alternate resolution to this. And so in that light, I won't be supporting the officer's recommendation.
Sorry? Sorry, you've got a formal, so this one's been seconded, so you've got a formal motion on the table to deal with?
Yeah.
And then if it's defeated,
Then the alternative.
we've got your alternative
Yep.
ready,
Okay.
ready to put up.
Councillors, anyone wish to talk further on this one before we go to the vote? Okay, so we've got a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation. Councillor Lang.
Can I withdraw my,
Oh,
so that way we can,
can she withdraw her seconding?
So,
I think Councillor Billing was the mover. Councillor Lang was the
does
seconder.
anyone else want to second it? Would you like to withdraw?
Well, it's,
Oh, sorry, now you've got a seconder, so,
yeah, we've got a second.
all right. So let's put it to the vote and then see if it's defeated.
Okay, so we do have a mover and seconder. Councillor Hayden is now seconding. Those in favour? That's defeated.
Defeated.
Okay, so that one's defeated. I'll just record that.
I know.
Sorry, what's that? So, yeah,
No, I'm sure
just
you
for any
won't.
alternative
And
motion.
to be honest,
Yeah, so, I'll ask for alternative motions for item 12.4.
Okay.
Councillor Barney?
Sure. I have an alternative motion. So my alternative motion, item 1 stays the same as the proposed. And item 2, that council install the fence in a manner that provides separate areas for large dogs and small dogs, that a further follow-up study be conducted 12 months after the installation of the fence to gauge public feedback. In addition, a review of the signage at the Atherton off-leash area to make communication to users clear of their responsibilities while using the area. My reason is that there is currently only one fenced off leash area within TRC, and with the review of our local laws as part of the upcoming planning scheme review, this is a great opportunity to trial a divider fence. It gives a chance to understand how best to meet the needs of local dog owners and set a community informed standard for any future off leash fence areas across the GRC.
Thanks, Councillor Barty. So councillor Barty's moving the alternative motion. We have a seconder. Councillor Spanos seconding. Who else would like to talk to this one? Councillor Spanos, did you want to?
Not really, no, I think I've covered it.
Yeah. Councillors? Okay. Those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Sorry. Of the alternative recommendation, sorry.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah. Alternative motion.
Yeah, so that's carried.
And do you?
No, I don't know.
It's a 4.
Yeah, so the ones against were councillor Bilney and councillor Lamb, I think, and myself.
No.
No? Councillor Hayden. Councillor Bilney, councillor Hayden and myself are against. Um, 12.5, condition of Atherton Town Centre and entry, approaches to town centre. That was yours, Shane, too, is it?
Yes.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair, councillors, at the 27th February 2025 ordinary council meeting, council resolved that the chief executive officer undertake a review of the amenity and aesthetics of the Atherton Town Centre and approaches to the Atherton Town Centre with the view of providing options to improve the amenity and aesthetics of the area, and provide a report of the review to council for consideration at the June ordinary council meeting. The following report provides council with the following report provides council and the community with a high-level overview of the current practices and the planned improvements in place regarding the amenity and aesthetics of the Atherton Town Centre and the approaches to the Atherton Town Centre, as well as the greater TRC region. These improvements include to improve the aesthetics of the Atherton and all TRC localities. The 2025-26 operational plan holds the delivery of urban garden plans across the region. The scope to develop urban garden plans includes using native species, community consultation, alignment with TRC strategies and policies, reduction of maintenance requirements, reduction in costs, improvement of safety, and ensuring environmental compliance. To improve the Parks and Gardens service delivery, TRC officers are currently reviewing the annual program, communications to public, and are developing a maintenance management plan. The program of works and communications to the public will be updated on TRC's website. The website page will include mowing schedules, advice on dry and wet periods of maintenance, as well as how to log a request. The Parks and Gardens team are also working with various other sections of TRC to commence utilizing the customer request system for an end-to-end process where the requestee can follow the progress of their request. The updated workflow will connect the customer request to the work system where approved works are required. Upon finalization of the maintenance management plan in the coming months, TRC will have collated data to provide measured advice in relation to structure reviews. This will allow the executive team and councillors to understand how an increase or decrease to staff will impact the current service levels. The maintenance management plan will also assist with understanding downtime, enhance safety, allow for continuous improvement reviews, and aid in expenditure decisions. In summary, TRC has numerous improvements well underway, and they are attached to transparent key performance indicators in the operational plan, as well as aligned with the adopted corporate plan. TRC officers look forward to continuing to work to align the service delivery requirements of the community and council with the long-term financial sustainability. The report is presented to council for receiving and noting in accordance with the 27 February 2025 resolution. Mayor, may we please open the floor to question.
Questions for Shane? Councillor Cardew.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move a procedural motion that this item be left on the table until such time as we can have a council information session.
Councillor Cardew is moving a procedural motion.
I'll read through. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Chair, Mr. Chair. So procedural motions are that the question motion be now put before the meeting, that the motion or amendment now before the meeting be adjourned. There's no motion.
We haven't got a motion, we haven't got a movement seconder on this one yet.
Or do we want to do questions and then, because then it would go straight to the vote. That the meeting proceed to the next item of business, that the question lie on the table, a point of order. Forward that the meeting proceed to the next item of business. So you don't need a second, but you still need to vote on it. Councillors, we can put it to the vote. Okay.
If you got a second,
You don't need a second for procedural motions. So, okay. So Councillor Kaju, are you, so what you're saying is that you want the meeting to proceed to the next item of business, so jump over this one, and then, Mr. Chair, if you would then go and vote on whether that should happen.
No, the one left on the table till the next meeting. Or to a future date.
So the chair will immediately put the question to the motion or amendment to that motion under consideration. Where the procedural motion is lost, debate on the motion or amendment to that motion will resume. So you actually don't have a motion on the table yet, so you haven't moved anything.
So to proceed with Councillor Kaju's request, what's the?
So we really need to vote on whether to do that.
Right, okay.
So through the chair, this would be no different from what we did with 11.9, which was the APA, where we just put it to the vote to defer it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're happy that we can put that to the vote, Kaju, and for that to be deferred? Is that?
Well, you're voting on deferring it, so for everyone needs to now vote now whether to defer it or not. So it would be, so what you're voting on is that the meeting proceed to the next item of business, so you jump over this one, which is essentially deferring it.
So yes, so that means we won't be dealing with it today, so it'll, it can potentially come back to the next meeting, but we've got 4 weeks between now and the next meeting. If there needs to be an information session or Councillor Kaju.
Can I just ask the councillor why we want to defer it, just so that I get an understanding of the need behind it?
There's no wait till it's moved and seconded first, or?
It's moved and seconded, you can't do it.
Well, you can ask.
I'm just asking,
it doesn't get seconded.
why do we want to defer it?
Why?
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at item of the last recommendation, it says here, that undertake a review of the amenity and aesthetics of the Atherton Town Centre and approaches to the Atherton Town Centre with the view of providing options to improve the amenity and aesthetics of the area. There's no options in that report. In the consultation part of the report, there's no consultation with councillors, no council information session carried out. So where's our input into how we want our towns to look? That's why I'm
fair enough, that's what I'm asking for.
Yeah,
yep.
Thank you.
So Councillor Kaju's procedural motion that it be left on the table. Yep. And we'll go to the next item of business. So Councillor Kaju's moving that. We don't need a seconder. Those in favour? That's carried. Do you have your hand up, Councillor Hayden? No. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's carried. Okay, that brings us to item 13.1. So item 13.1, financial report, May 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, morning everybody, it's still just morning. Today I present to you finance report to the end of May 2025. I'd like to note that this month's report includes the full-time equivalent information for your review and reference. This is otherwise known as FTE, which you may have heard us talk about previously. This measure enables identification of full-time hours worked, even when some of those hours may have been completed by part-time staff. So, for example, a full 8-hour day of work could be completed by 2 part-time staff, each completing 4 hours each, but that's still classified as 1 FTE. Moving into the financial results of this report, the operational revenue for the month is on target with a slight variance of 1.7%. Operational expenditure is currently over budget by 4.6%, with a focus on finalising year-end activities. We have noted that on this report that some wages have been identified as capital, which will be reallocated from operating to capital once officers or as officers advise to see the details, and this will be done prior to year-end. Outstanding rates are continuing to reduce, with the current balance of 3.5 million and outstanding invoices total 1.3 million, of which most relate to the collection of grant funds as project milestones have now been reached. Local and council endorsed spend remains strong this month, representing 81% of our purchases. So this is a brief summary of this month's financial report, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for Erica? We have a mover of the officer's recommendation. Councillor Spanos. Second, Councillor Bilney. Councillor Spanos, you wish to talk to that one?
No, I think we've been over this.
Yeah. Those in favour? That's carried. That's 7. 13.2, Audit Risk and Improvement Committee for June 2025. Is that yours, Helen? Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, happy to present excuse me, the minutes for the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting. Of particular note at this meeting was the interim audit outcome and no additional issues identified. Our auditor noted that it was encouraging to note the 4 matters from the previous year had been resolved, indicating positive progress and improvements in processes and operations, which was a really pleasing result. The other key thing to note from this meeting was that it was the final meeting for our current chair, Mr. James Crompton, and also our internal auditor, Pacifica, and the Mayor thanked both for their contribution over the past years to our Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? We have a mover of the officer's recommendation. Councillor Spanos, Councillor Vardy. Councillor Spanos, you wish to talk to that? Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. 13.3, Approved Inspection Program 2025. I'll go to you. Who's doing that one?
I'll also talk to that
Sorry, I'll go to you.
So through the chair, the Approved Inspection Program is an annual activity that is put to council for support of local laws officers to engage in activities across our region to identify non-compliant dogs specifically. It is in support of our obligations under the Animal Management Act and enables us to proactively follow up where animals have not been re-registered or whether there may be concerns around compliance of controlled dogs. And so this is seeking support from council for officers to undertake that inspection program.
Any questions for the General Manager?
Sorry, Hillary. Just that got checked. That's my only
Address.
question.
The word has been added.
The word has been. Thank you. I didn't get it. Sorry.
Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty and Councillor Bilney. Those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Bill.
Yep, I don't want to miss my opportunity. Yes. Look, through the chair, I just really wish to give a big shout out to the local laws crew. Acknowledge the work that they do within our community. We know that their workloads are quite substantial. It's a tough job. Not many people would be welcoming them when they walk into a premises or land or whatever, so they keep doing a tough job in extremely professional manner and in demanding circumstances. So I'd just like to tip my hat to them.
Thanks, Councillor Bilney. Here. Well done. All right, so that brings us to. Sorry, did you vote? Sorry. Just forgot one thing. All right. So we've got a mover and seconder. Those in favour? Yeah, that's 7. Thanks, Hillary. Okay, councillors, do we have any business without notice? Councillor Barty?
Yeah, I just want to highlight that on Wednesday, the 16th of June, TRC hosted the LGAQ NRM forum here, which is it's a pretty big deal. We had people from Cairns, Mareeba, Hitchy Cass, Coast, and a range of other areas come along. So I just wanted to thank mainly Christine Wolf for doing the bulk of the organising and Tudor for being on holidays for most of that time and coming back in at the end there. It was a really good day, and yeah, they both worked really hard on it, and hopefully we can host that again sometime. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Barty. Any other business without notice? Right, Councillor, that brings us to our confidential session. Can I, and we've got a bit to cover there, so can I suggest we have a lunch break? Is that okay? Have a lunch break till 12:30, and then we'll come back and we can go straight into confidential and knock over those last ones. Is that okay? Yes. Okay, we'll reconvene at 12:30. Thank you. Okay, councillors, we'll reconvene with our ordinary council meeting. We're up to our confidential items. So could I have a mover and seconder to go into confidential, that in accordance with section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the meeting will close at this part of the meeting to the public for the reasons and matters noted. Do I need to read through these?
Yes. Yeah.
So I need to read all of them?
Yeah, and if we deal with them all at once, we just go into a large closed confidential and then deal with it all at once at the end.
Gotcha. So I'll read through the confidential preconditions, councillors, for all of them if I can. So the first one relates to item E. The advisory committee review relates to item E. Legal advice obtained by the local government or legal proceedings involving the local government, including, for example, legal proceedings that may be taken by or against the local government. And that relates to the advisory committee review. And then for 16.2, 16.3, 16.4, 16.5 and 16.6, that refers to precondition G, which says negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of local government. So I think, councillors, if I can have a mover and seconder of that to go into confidential on condition E and condition G, that would be good. Councillor Bilney is moving, and Councillor Cardew, I think, was seconding. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Thank you. Okay, we've now returned out of confidential. We'll return to item 16.1, Advisory Committee's review. Could I have a mover of the officer's recommendation on the proviso that we amend item 6 to what's up there, which I'll read that out. So item 6 is deleted and it becomes develop a practical framework for committees, working groups to follow, including terms of reference, template, and undertake a review of the new committee working group structure in 12 months' time to ensure the structure meets the TRC and community needs. So could I have a mover and seconder of that, including the amended motion? Amended. Councillor Spanos and Councillor Bilney. Those in favour? That's 6. Thank you. That's Councillor Barty against on that one. 16.2, which is TRC 2024-33, TRC DRFA 2024 REPA-South 1. Could I have a mover of the officer's recommendation there? Councillor Cardew is moving that one. Seconder? Councillor Barty is seconding. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Okay, that brings us to 16.3. 16.3 TRC 2024-34 TRC DRFA 2024 REPA-South 2. Could I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Seconder? We've got a mover and seconder. Those in favour? That's carried. I had Councillor Bilney and Councillor Lang, and then I had 5, I think. Yeah, hands up again. Who? Yeah, 5. So 5-2 on that one. Thank you. And that was, 16.4, which is TRC 2024-35, TRC DRFA 2024-East. And can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? I have a mover, a seconder. Councillor Bilney. Those in favour? Carried, that's 5-2. Thank you. Okay, the next one is 16.5 TRC 2024-36.
We do, yeah.
TRC DRFA 2024 REPA West. Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Cardew is moving. Seconder, Councillor Lang. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. That's 7. Okay. That brings us to 16.6, TRC 2025-02, vacuum truck operations, register of pre-qualified suppliers. Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Lang moving, Councillor Vardy seconding. Those in favour? Carried, that's 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll just wait for those gents to come back in and then we'll close the meeting. Thanks, everyone. Very big day. Thank you very much. Meeting is now closed. We'll convene again on the 24th.